Hello slimy furtlers, what we've got here is a Matchbox number, I think it's, is it 54? 54? I can't bloody see now because of the sun, but it's a, yep, it's a Matchbox number 54A Alvis Saracen Armoured Personnel Carrier, or to give it its proper army name, the FV603. This is a part of the FV600 series of fighting vehicles that were introduced into military service in the 1950s. This one was the very first that was built and issued to troops. It made its debut in 1952 because at the time there was a little thing going off called the Malayan emergency, which in the country of Malaya, or whatever it's called now, I'm not quite sure, which was under British rule as part of the British Empire at the time. Some guys there had a particular grievance with the British government on the British rule over their country, and they started shooting people and blowing things up, and just generally doing things that aren't really nice, random bombings and all stuff like that. So the army had to go and try and sort it out and keep people safe and everything. And one of the things that they didn't have were armoured personnel carriers, because prior to this, army soldiers tend to be taken around either by walking or in trucks, and unfortunately soft-bodied trucks aren't much good when you've got people firing machine guns at you. Your guys sat in the back tend to get shot. So they needed an armoured personnel carrier which could, give the guys in the back something, something solid to sit in, so they didn't get killed in a hail of machine gun fire before they even got where they were supposed to be, doing something. And so this was the first vehicle. The other vehicles in the FV600 series included as well the Saladin six-wheel armoured car, and this was also produced later. It was an armoured car given with a big gun. I've already kind of rested this one. It's in British Army green, but it's called the FV600 series because all the vehicles in this particular series shared a common chassis and power transmission system. It was used in various configurations. For example, with this one, the engine is at the front and it has the 6 wheels. In the Saladin, the engine is at the back and it still has the same 6 wheels. So if you turn them round, you can see that the engine compartment is basically the same. It's just one it's at the front, the other is at the back. And there we are. So the Saladin, we'll just put that to the side because that's what we're here for today. So yeah, the FV603 came in. Well, there were a couple of variations on it. The FV604 was a commander's vehicle, and it got rid of the facility to have the Saladin could carry 2 crew plus 9 guys along with their equipment in the back. The FV604 got rid of the troop carrying capability and made it into a command vehicle which had a slightly higher roof. It still kept the machine gun turret, but it had a slightly higher roof, and it had like radio aerials and stuff like that on it, so that the officer in charge in the field could keep in contact with all the other guys knocking around. There was the FV610, which was similar to the commander's vehicle, except it was used for artillery commanders, being as that this vehicle was mostly used in the rear, the rear of the action. It wasn't fitted with a machine gun turret. Had a higher roof. Basically the entire top section here was higher, so that they could incorporate a map table for plotting where they were going to do bombardments and radios and stuff, so they could send instructions out to artillery crews to to help them sight their guns in and fire. And then there's also one which I found, it says it's the FV604 or 605, but it's also down as the FV611, which were basically ambulances. They got rid of the troop capacity, the troop carrying capacity, in order to have room in there to put wounded in, to be worked on or evacuated from the battlefield. But yeah, this one is the 603, which is a troop carrier, like I say, 2 crew, 1 driver, 1 commander. Driver would drive, obviously, and the commander would do everything else. He would work the machine gun turret if he needed to, work the radio, and if they had one, and keep an eye out for anybody hanging around and that looks a bit dodgy. So yeah, the actual model itself is a Matchbox number 54A. First released as this in, I think it was 1962, and went through until about 1967, I believe, before it was replaced with something else, I don't know, which became obviously 54B. There was only ever one version made. There weren't any variants made, there weren't any of the other types of vehicle made. It only ever came out like this, was only ever produced in this green colour. The only variation I can see of this is that this version is probably one of the earlier versions because it has crimped axles, and later versions obviously had the all rounded, like rounded on one side, crimped on the other. Later versions all had rounded off axles. Like I say, it was only ever produced in this, this sort of green colour. It's not British Army green because it's not dark enough, but yeah. So for me, that's unusual because it's the first time I've ever actually dealt with something that's got crimped axles. So I'm not quite sure I'm going to tackle that one, but we'll figure something out that so I don't end up destroying the axle pins on it. But yeah, this particular example is. It's held up quite well since it came out. I mean, this is what, 40, well, if it came out in the early 60s, so that's 70s, 80s, 90s, we're knocking on 50 years old for this, 50, 60 years old. And for something that's 50, 60 years old and has obviously been played with, it's good nick. There are paint coming off. You can see where it's been rammed into other stuff because there's paint missing off the front end. And, the chips knocked out here and there. There's a few scratches in the bodywork, which will just need a thingy. The axles are rusted up to buggery, which means that although it does roll, the wheels don't roll independently, and even when they do roll, they are a little bit stiff. But at least it's still got the little machine gun turret on the top, and there's no holes gouged in it or anything like that, which is quite nice. So I actually do have a plan for this one, being as I did when I did the Saladin. I did the Saladin ages ago. I did the Saladin just in basic British Army green, and gave it a nice coat of lacquer and everything like that. So all the wheels on that roll, if I remember rightly, the wheels, even though the wheels are rolled over, they're rounded ones, they were right bugger to get off because they were in worse rusted up than this. But the Saracen is a lot harder to get than the Saladin, and so I don't want to mess this one up because I was quite lucky to get this one. I got it for a couple of quid off eBay, a couple of quid including postage off eBay, so that's quite nice. Never seen one in the wild. Mind you, then again, I haven't seen a Saladin in the wild either, not in any rummage boxes or at car boots, anything like that. But there aren't any car boots at the minute because of the lockdown from the Wu-Tang flu. So yeah, it's held together with 2 rivets, so they should be easy to pop out. But before I can even get to them, I can get to one rivet fairly easily. The other one is just slightly under one of the axles, so I'm going to have to be careful how I go about taking this one apart because I don't want to damage the axles and I don't want to damage the body too much. But yeah, this is in nice shape. Could just get away with leaving it as it is, but I don't like doing that. But the actual plan is the repaint is going to be in Malayan emergency camo scheme, which is just simply a British Army green with some desert yellow on it because there's a mixed environment of sort of sand or light coloured dirt and trees in Malaya, so you camouflage it like that to hide in the trees, and then when the bad guys come, you guys jump out the back and they have a bit of a fight and somebody wins. Somebody wins, but everybody loses. Yeah, so let's get on with that bit, and hopefully I won't fuck anything up. Wiggle it just a little bit. Yatta! And there we go, all nice and stripped and everything, cleaned. I need to do a bit more work with the wire brush because there's still some bits of green in there, but nothing too bad. A good soak in the old paint stripper. Did it good? I left the turret on because I didn't see any point in removing it. It's held in just with a single rivet, and if I remove that, I'm not confident that I will be able to, you know, do something to get it back on. So what's the plan for this one is first off I'm going to give it a bit of a primer, and then we're going to give it some Tamiya TS9 British Army Green. I've had this can for a while. There's enough left in it to do this job, I think. But yeah, once we've got the green on, then I can start putting in the you know, the desert yellow camouflage and everything. I'm just going to check some pictures of Saracens and stuff like that, but I might put a radio aerial on it as well, you know, just a whip aerial, because I'm not sure whether Saracens had radios. I think they did, but I'm not entirely sure. So anyways, we'll get it you know, we'll get it primered and sprayed, and you know, then we can start doing the detailing.
3 hours later.
Okay, so here we are with the coat of British Army Green on. It's a nice base coat to start with because it's nice dark green. So what I'm going to do now, oh, by the way, I've put the top and bottom halves back together, simply because this, with it being an all over paint job, there really is no need to keep the two parts separate. The only thing that needs to go back on now is the wheels, and I can do that later. Well, I've got to clean up the axles and everything first. So what I'm going to start off with is I'm going to give it a dry brush of khaki drab, just to show, you know, like the paint slightly lightened up a bit. And oh, running out of khaki drab.
Start up. Time out.
Okay, so there we go. The giving it a fairly heavy dry brush of the khaki drab there, just to lighten up the you know, the body. There's still patches of the dark green showing through, which is what I want, because I, you know, still want there to be something on there. The lightning effect is just basically to dust and whatnot, and being exposed, you know, kind of sun bleached effect kind of thing. The thing you want done. So this one shouldn't take too long to dry, being as that you know, it's quite a sunny day, so, you know, maybe just 5 minutes in the window, you know, in the direct sunlight, and it'll be all nice. So I'll just pop this over here.
Moments later.
Okay, so here we are with the everything's all dry now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start marking out the areas that I want to put the desert yellow on with some of this flat brown. Shake, make sure that it's not all separated and shit. There we go. So
Start up. Time out.
okay, there we go. The brown parts on. So yeah, the brown areas are where I'm going to put the desert yellow, which also means, because I've done it as an all over paint job, you know, especially down the sides and the wheel wells and stuff like that, it means that I'm also going to paint the wheels. And I've got a little made a little setup here, just a couple of lolly sticks with some cocktail sticks shoved through it. Just going to clean up give the wheels a clean up, because some of them have got patches and bits of scratches on, and then certain wheels I'll be painting in the desert yellow. So, you know, there's a couple on one side, and then that. So you know, so the vehicle is all over camouflage, including the wheels. But yeah, that's how we are. So we're going to let this dry, and then we'll get on with the next bit.
Approximately 10 hours later.
Right, the brown's dry, and I've got two things of kind of the desert yellow here. I've got Tamiya's XF59 desert yellow, and I've got Revel's number 17 Africa brown, or Africa brown, as it is. You know, it's in different languages. Right.
Start up.
Okay, there we go with the desert yellow first coat on. That one shouldn't take too long to dry. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to give this vehicle a very, very thinned down either black or brown wash. I think I'll probably go with brown, just to make all these little details pop, because we've got things like little windows, firing ports, handles, you know, rivets, things like that. And you know, the people who do just straight restorations, you know, I do that. You know, I think they do a great job. But I think my years of doing, you know, kind of scale modelling and you know, painting like wargaming figures and stuff like that have kind of left with me with something like this. I just have to bring up those details so that you can see them, as opposed to, you know, I mean, I could have just sprayed this one British Army green and left it at that, you know, put it back how it was originally. But to me that's boring. I mean, they went to a whole lot of trouble to put in all these little windows and little details, you know, windows, handholds, firing ports and stuff like that, and just slathering green on kind of does it a disservice. So that's what I'm going to do next. So let's give this some time to dry in the sun. We'll do that.
20 minutes later.
Right then, so I did the washers off, you know, off camera, because something like that, you know, doing the little precise, you know, moves in, you know, thingy, it takes a long time, and I've already used enough of my hyper time for now. Hopefully it doesn't have any horrible after effects. But yeah, I've done the wash. I put basically a flat brown wash over the desert yellow base, and once that had dried, then I just did a bit of a black wash around all the kind of windows and firing ports and things like that, you know, the smaller details that I want to pop. So yeah, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go over the desert yellow, or the darkened desert yellow, with a dry brush of desert yellow. And you say, why is it dry brush? Well, because I want the I don't want the entire areas to be coloured in, if you know what I mean. I just want it to be highlighted, if you know what I mean. So it looks more realistic, looks more genuine, because not everything is bright and in your face. You know, this is basically a vehicle that's driven about, and you know, sand and dirt and everything like that in the, you know, in what was called British Malaya, which is now Malaysia. I looked that one up because I was kind of curious, and yeah, British Malaya is now called Malaysia, and it's, you know, look into the Malay emergency and the history of Malaysia if you want to know what happened there. Yeah, then once I've done that, I'm also going to start doing the camouflage on the wheels, just basically painting in the wheel hubs, and then hopefully we'll be able to get the wheels fitted back on, and when I come back, all the painting and everything will be finished, the wheels will be back on, and everything will be all nice and lacquered, and we can call it a day there. So fingers crossed that nothing really stupid or bad happens in the meantime.
Eventually.
There we go, done. I just sort of highlighted bits in there. Wheels back on, some rims painted in the desert yellow colour and then darkened with a bit of brown. Some I've painted in green and then darkened that with brown as well. The chassis, well, the axles went back in, no problem, after I give them a good clean up and got the rust off, and then I just re-crimped the axles. So yeah, the wheels all roll. They don't roll very well. Well, some roll, some don't on the table surface, but you know, that's because it's not very grippy. It's a smooth table surface, even though it doesn't look it. Little turret, little machine gun turret at the top here, still rotates. It's not stuck down with the lacquer or anything, which was something I was actually worried about when I, you know, made the decision not to remove the turret. But yeah, there we go, it's done. So yeah, this is the FV603 Saracen armoured personnel carrier, some of which are still in service today with both military and police, because this also makes a pretty good police vehicle as well, especially in areas where there's a bit of aggro, you know, because the armoured body is, you know, okay for against small arms, you know, pistols and rifles and things like that, and you know, riot police or something like that, and use it as a riot control vehicle or something. And yeah, so if you're very, very lucky and you live in certain, or you ever go to certain parts of the world, you might actually see one of these still driving about. I've actually seen one of these, and it was in a museum. It was just parked up next to a ferret armoured car. Here we are, done. So yeah, thanks for watching, and you know, feel free to like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. You know, feel free to visit and drop a like on my Facebook page. And if you're feeling particularly generous, you know, feel free to drop me a couple of quid via the PayPal link. You know, this, you know, all the money that goes into that, if anything goes in, you know, will go towards kind of paints and stuff, and you know, sort of keeping the hobby flowing, kind of thing. Yeah. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.